What's a small but ridiculous change that was made in an on-screen adaptation?
And in the Click books, the Pretty Committee are having a sleepover when a question is posed. Would you rather be a friendless loser or have a ton of friends who secretly hate you? Now, the Pretty Committee are all very lonely, but internally, not externally. Massey and her friends would all rather have friends who secretly hate them because that's the reality of their situation. However, they don't want to come across as vapid and vain, therefore they lie and say that they'd rather be friendless losers because they wouldn't want to, quote-unquote, live a lie. Claire, on the other hand, is externally lonely, so she says that she'd rather have a ton of friends who secretly hate her because it's better than her reality, which is that she's a friendless loser. However, they're two sides of the same coin. Everyone's lonely. Everyone just wants to be friends. Now, in the movies, this is reversed, which drives me insane because that question is at the heart of the book. And I just feel like the movie missed the entire point of what Lacey Harrison was trying to get across, you know? Oh my God, it makes me want to.
What's a small but ridiculous change that was made in an on-screen adaptation? For me, it's in the sixth Harry Potter. They go to Slughorn's house to try and recruit him, and after they've learned that, Death Eaters weren't really there and it's been staged, Dumbledore asks him, what blood did you put on the walls to make it look like you had been attacked? And Slughorn tells him it's dragon's blood. It's like a very normal interaction. But then in the movies, they get there and a drop of the blood falls on Harry's forehead and Dumbledore puts his finger in it, licks it, and is like, dragon's blood. Why?
Okay, this isn't small at all, but it has made me mad since I was like 17 years old. In this final Harry Potter movie, the way that Voldemort dies compared to the way that he dies in the books, they have just built up 7 books worth of these guys discovering what Horcruxes are, finding Horcruxes, destroying Horcruxes. Dumbledore dies. Harry finds out he is a Horcrux. He sacrifices himself by letting Voldemort think he's killing him, but really he's killing the Horcrux that he didn't know was inside Harry from when he tried to kill him as a baby. This whole thing has been built up to this. You get to this epic battle scene in the Great Hall, and in the book, Harry and Voldemort face off, and Harry's wand wins because Voldemort doesn't know the whole thing about the wands. And in the book, Tom Riddle dies a human man. In the movie, this dude disintegrates like burnt paper. Are you kidding me? What was the point? So I actually have a second one for Harry Potter. I understand that as the books got longer, like the movies had to cut more and more things out, but that's not an excuse for the final book because they split that into 2 movies. At the end of the book, after Harry has defeated Voldemort, he goes up to Dumbledore's office, talks to his portrait, and they decide together. Harry tells him, I intend to die with the Elder Wand so that its power will be broken, but in the meantime, he uses it to heal his wand, which was broken earlier in the book, the one that he's had since he was a child. In the movie, he is walking outside of Hogwarts, like over the cliffs with Ron and Hermione after the battle, and instead of fixing his own wand, he decides to break the Elder Wand in half and throw each piece off a different side of the giant cliffs. So now he has not 1, but 2 broken wands.
What's a small but ridiculous change that was made in an on-screen adaptation?
I'm 20 years old, right? I've lived through multiple disappointing movie adaptations to shows and books, right? I was alive for the whole Green Lantern thing, the Percy Jackson trilogy. But to this day, the biggest change they did in a movie from a show or any kind of adaptation that boils my blood is a certain movie that I won't mention that decided to call the main character Ung instead of Aang. Who was Ung? What are you doing, bruh? It's bad enough that you whitewashing the entire cast. But who is Ung? Who's Ung?
In Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Grover in the movie is black. And you're thinking, why is this a bad thing? But we want to see more people of color in this universe. Here's the thing. The way satyrs are written in the book, it's like they serve the demigods. They are subservient to them. Making Grover black just adds a whole nother layer of terribleness that didn't need to be there. It's not about making everyone a POC. It's about making the right characters people of color. Why couldn't Percy be black? Anybody but the literal subservient person. Dude, come on.
Man, I know exactly what I want to talk about in this video. The Girl with All the Gifts is one of the best zombie apocalypse books ever written. and it's told from the perspective of a little child who happens to have this disease that she doesn't fully understand because the adults around her just cage her and brutalize her and study her, and they don't actually tell her why they're being so cruel to her. The little girl's name is Melanie, and she's described as this small, white girl who has these blue eyes and this blonde hair, and she's like totally angelic and everything, but she's terrifying because she's a zombie. She has this appetite for flesh and blood. Melanie loves this one teacher of hers whose name is Helen, and she literally idolizes her. Helen is this character that is described as this gorgeous dark woman who has the most beautiful smile and the kindest heart, and she treats her the way a mother is supposed to treat her. And the book is very, very clear. The teacher is a black woman. The movie adaptation comes out in 2016, and it is, honestly speaking, one of the best book to film adaptations I have ever seen in my life. But there's one specific change that actually really bothers me, and it's that to play the little zombie girl, they cast a young black child, and to play the teacher, they cast a popular white actress. And I don't understand why they would do that. The book establishing that this is a little zombie white girl who idolizes the beauty of this character and truly thinks that her skin and her hair and her demeanor is just like the most beautiful thing she's ever seen is a very interesting part of the book. So the fact that they swap that and make this little black zombie girl look at this white woman and idolize her and think that she is the most beautiful, angelic, wonderful thing in the world, it just doesn't sit right with my soul. It's such a weird change. It's so unnecessary. Why did you do it? This is not to say that the actresses did not deliver excellent performances. They did. I'm just saying that the casting directors, I don't know what they were thinking. I just question their motives.
The Duke Leto Atreides came through the door. His arms were bound in chains, the eagle face streaked with dirt. His uniform was torn where someone had ripped off his insignia, meaning he was in a uniform. And why aren't you in uniform?
To rile up a very niche group of people, so bear with me. It is about the absolute atrocity committed towards Padma and Parvati in the movies. I know what some of you are gonna say, like, oh my god, J.K. Rowling is racist. Like, what else do you expect? No, maybe she is, but not when it comes to these two. Not according to me in the books. I still remember reading Goblet of Fire when it first came out, and when I got to the part that Harry and Ron were going to be taking these two to Yule Ball, like, I cannot tell you how elated I was. Because in the early 2000s, like, you never got positive South Asian representation. We'll never forget when Seamus asked Harry, how the hell did you two score the two best looking girls in our year? I don't know how that gets turned into this. Like, what even are they wearing? It's not even the fact that they're wearing Indian clothes. If you wanted them to wear Indian clothes, the least you could have done is hire an Indian designer. Also, Hermione could have her big swan moment. I hope Steve Coles falls into a ditch and breaks all of his teeth.
Alice can't see the werewolves, nor can she see Renesmee. Why? Okay, so I got a ton of comments like this trying to explain that vision at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2, that maybe Alice is not looking directly at Jacob or Renesmee's future. Maybe she's looking into Bella or Edward's future. And this can't be it either. I was brainstorming all night for like textual examples, and I thought of a few. So first, when Alice sees Bella jump off the cliff in New Moon, she sees her future just like abruptly disappear because Jacob pulls her out. And so that's why Alice thinks she's dead. It's like a huge like major plot development, which they just completely disregard at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2. But anyway, second one, in Eclipse, when Bella tries to sneak off to go see Jacob in La Push and Edward disassembles her truck, he says something along the lines of, Alice saw your future abruptly vanish 10 minutes ago. So again, Alice can normally see Bella, but as soon as she decides to go see Jacob, her future vanishes. Another one, of course, is when Bella is pregnant. As soon as she decides to go through with the pregnancy, her future vanishes for Alice. And this is why they don't know the outcome of the pregnancy. And it's because Alice cannot see Renesmee. And so then maybe I thought, like, maybe it's because Bella was human at the time. That's why her future keeps vanishing. So I tried to think of an example where the future of the vampires vanish because of the werewolves. And I thought of one. And I have some text evidence for you. My English teachers would be so proud. Okay, so here it is. This is the graduation party in Eclipse. As soon as the werewolves decide to join the fight against the newborns, Alice says, everything just disappeared, of course. So as soon as the werewolves decide to join the fight, the future vanishes. So there's no way for Alice to see the future of any of the characters when the werewolves or Renesmee are involved. So I really don't think there's a way to explain that vision at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2. This also, of course, refutes the whole, like, fight scene in Breaking Dawn Part 2. There's no way Alice could have seen around the werewolves. Everyone's future would have vanished as soon as they decided to join the fight. So I think the filmmakers were just kind of like, too bad, oh well.
I'm enjoying how all the stitches I've seen in this video have been Harry Potter related, because mine is as well. And I don't know if it's like really ridiculous, but it bugged me because at the end of Goblet of Fire, I know the movie was long, but there's like this scene at the end where Harry's in the hospital wing and he's surrounded by the Weasleys, and Fudge comes in, gives him his winnings. Harry just says that he doesn't want them. He tries to push them away, and then Molly's like, but Harry, you won them. He's like, it should be Cedric's. And then he gets upset. And then Molly hugs him and he cries into Molly's shoulder, and he describes it in the book as being hugged like by a mother, and it breaks me every single time. And we don't get to see it, and it drives me crazy because Harry ends up keeping the winnings and then gives them to Fred and George to fund the joke shop and to get Ron new dress robes, which shows so much about character and like his relationship with the twins outside of just Ron. And like we don't get any of it, and we also don't get like Sirius and Snape like yelling at each other in the hospital wing afterwards, and I'm just like,
The Umbrella Academy. There are a lot of little and big changes that they made when adapting these comic books into a Netflix show. However, as much as there are a bunch of changes, the one that has always pissed me off the most is Hazel and Cha-Cha. These two individuals you see here are Hazel and Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha has the blue head, Hazel has the pink head, and they're both men. In the show, Cha-Cha is now a woman, and I have absolutely no issue with that. I love more representation, obviously. Why would I not like that? My issue lies in the fact that they switched their names for no reason. Her name is now Cha-Cha, but she is wearing Hazel's head. His name is Hazel, but that's Cha-Cha's head. So for absolutely no reason at all, they just completely switched the name. So anybody who's read the comics, like me, was just sitting there confused. Because what's the point in changing their names? There's absolutely no point in changing their names.
I don't know if these count, but they really aggravate me anyway. In the movie version of The Hunger Games Mockingjay, Katniss gets to the Capitol by sneaking onto a hovercraft after Joanna Mason suggests it. However, in the book, Joanna and Katniss actually are training to be soldiers together. They are intentionally both trying to go to the Capitol, and they room together, they eat together, they are with each other almost 24/7. Not only do I love Joanna's character, and I love Jenna Malone as Joanna, but it also added a layer of helping Katniss understand the trauma that Peeta had gone through in the Capitol. But more importantly, in the book, before Katniss goes to District 8, she's being escorted by Boggs to the hovercraft, and Finnick comes running up in his hospital gown, and he's all, they won't even let me ride in the hovercraft! And she's like, you're not even wearing pants. And he rips off the hospital gown, strikes a ridiculous pose, and goes, do you find this distracting? And Boggs is just like, the fuck? And we missed out on the hilarity.
If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And and subscribe. We publish new videos every day.